You know, in job interviews, when they would ask you, what's your greatest weakness? I used to be that girl that would answer with, my greatest weakness is that sometimes I can be a little bit of a perfectionist, thinking that I was being all cheeky and smart. What's funny is that at the time, I actually did think perfectionism was a strength, but now I am so tired of it. I am so tired of being a perfectionist. It gets in the way. It's just, you know, I mean, you clicked on this video, so you probably can relate to some extent. In this video, we're going to talk all about perfectionism, its root causes, and my best advice for how to curb perfectionism. And it might not be advice that you've necessarily seen in the mainstream content space before. Who knows? Let me know. I don't know. Yeah, let's hit it. I'm Julianne. I've started 3 businesses, sold 2, and the last one ended in total freaking burnout. And now with this channel, I am all about exploring what makes us tick as human beings so that we can empower ourselves with the knowledge and insights to make our relationship with work that much more fulfilling. So, about perfectionism. As I mentioned before, I am a self-professed perfectionist, and I used to think this was a great quality to have until I started finding myself in roles and capacities in which my perfectionism would ultimately do me more harm than good. Now, it's important to distinguish here between the pursuit of excellence and the pathological fear of failure. For the purpose of this discussion, let's all agree that high achievers pursue excellence and perfectionists pursue the avoidance of failure. Now, why is this important? There's actually a huge difference between high achievers and perfectionists. If you are a high achiever, you set high but not rigid goals. You have what's called a core confidence, which means confidence that doesn't waver that much depending on the situations that you're in. If you meet a target, you praise yourself. If you miss a target, you own your mistakes and move on. You don't have the repeated issue of task avoidance, and you approach your work incrementally. If you are a perfectionist, you set high and rigid goals. Your confidence is situational. If you meet a target, you undermine your achievement. If you miss a target, you criticize and badger yourself. And here's the important part. Your attitude is all or nothing. And because of this, you have an issue with task avoidance and not completing tasks on time. From this chart, we can see how perfectionism isn't all it's chalked up to be. Furthermore, perfectionists often report struggling with excessive worry, rumination, low self-esteem, low mood, poor sleep, tiredness, and sometimes even muscle tension. And as we know, the body keeps score. Here is my beef with some of the content out there offering advice on how to curb perfectionism. Often, the creators of this content will serve up means of intellectualization as a solution to perfectionism. In psychology, intellectualization refers to a defense mechanism that uses reasoning to block confrontation with an unconscious conflict and its associated emotional stress, i.e., the use of thinking to avoid having to feel. Some creators will say, if you want to stop being a perfectionist, just remember that the work you do is a marathon and not a sprint. Or remember the Pareto principle. And while I respect the intellectual value of this advice, I just don't think it's entirely appropriate within the context of which we speak today. In my opinion, telling a perfectionist to turn it off is more or less akin to telling somebody with depression, just be happy. I believe that the root of perfectionism is anxiety, and to cure anxiety is not anything to do with intellectualization. Instead, it is to promote a sense of connectedness to the here and now, and a sense of connectedness to whatever it is you're doing. So now I'm going to offer 3 practical tips that I have found to work especially well for me. And mind you, I'm not a psychologist or a mental health clinician, but I'm assuming that if you've made it this far in the video, you don't think my opinion is total trash. Number 1 is to catch yourself in the pattern of obsessive thinking. You don't necessarily have to do anything, you just have to be aware. This is a light bulb moment for me when it comes to awareness. And when I explain it to other people, they always give me this reaction of, duh, but I swear to God, it's just like when I heard it, I was like, this makes so much sense. So let's say you are feeling really anxious, you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and you might notice your heart is racing faster, you have tunnel vision, etc., etc. You are in the midst of obsessive thinking. Now, an awareness of obsessive thinking is in itself not an obsessive thought. Tip number 2, instead of conceptualizing the task at hand as a one or done deal, break it down into smaller chunks. If you're writing a paper, split the task into drafts. If you are designing, let's say, a YouTube thumbnail, maybe step number 1 could be to look at thumbnails of channels that you admire. Whatever it is you're doing, it's important to break an entire process down into actionable chunks. This makes it easier for you to get started, which is half the battle anyways, and also increases your likelihood of getting in the zone. Tip number 3. This is not necessarily an actionable item, but more so a principle to consider adopting. In life, you will be infinitely happier and more productive if you focus more on processes and less on outcomes. At work, those who get promoted tend not to be the most productive, but rather those who show up every day and act like they love their job. In marriage, those who are happier and more satisfied tend to be those who genuinely enjoy having a partner in crime to share the joys of their life with and the burdens of their everyday with, and blah, 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 stuff like that. I'm not married, so I'm just like spewing stuff that I've heard, so I feel like it makes sense. Anyways, in anything creative, the greats of the greats live their creative work as a lifestyle. They live and breathe it and embrace the process of creating, tweaking, and improving over time. And if you are somebody who hopes for a masterpiece from day one, tough luck, because chances are it's not happening. Masterpieces happen to those who put in the time, and those who put in the time tend to be those who enjoy the process. So, those are my 3 tips for curbing perfectionism. If you are a perfectionist, which I'm going to assume that you are, or maybe you live with someone who is, and trust me, if you live with one, you will know. They will tell you. What did you think of these tips? What do you think about the focus on anxiety and sort of acknowledging and sort of validating and grounding yourself in the here and now, as opposed to simply remembering that life is a marathon and not a sprint? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave a comment in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. I would love it very much. I'm the type of person who at this point I check my YouTube channel every day to see those numbers go up because I'm a perfectionist.